Hi everyone, Amy here, and today I have a new layered stencil from A Colorful Life Designs that I want to share with you and make a super cute card. So here is the layered Rainbow Love stencil. This is brand new in the January 2023 release, and I do have a coupon, AmyFan10, if you shop. Now, new to this release is this awesome stamp set. This is only the second ever stamp set that A Colorful Life Designs has released, and I'm so stoked about it. They're super cute. Now, I'm just going to take a smattering of these mini ink pads from the party collection at Catherine Pooler. I'm going to take Coral Cabana, Aquatini, and Something Borrowed. And I'm going to use these three colors to create the background and then do some stamping as well with the new stamp set. So here is a card base, or actually a card panel that's A2 sized, and here is a photo of the finished card. You can see I used some vellum and some gold heat embossing, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So I'm working directly on a panel. This isn't actually the card base. I am going to layer it up, but I'm using the magnets and my new glass board, which is magnetized, to hold on the stencil and the card base and apply this ink. Now, I just recently refilled my ink pad, so that's why they're so juicy. I probably should have pounced off the brush on a little scrap piece of paper so that it wasn't quite so saturated, but I was okay with it in the end. I did have one little mistake that you'll see in a bit, but it did end up getting covered up by the design. So I'm just I'm moving around these pretty high-tech magnets that I bought with the glass board and just filling in the ink in the openings of this first layer of the stencil. Now, all the stencils do have the name in the lower left corner. I don't think it necessarily matters what order you go in, but I did start with the first layer of the rainbow, and then I will remove this and clean it off before I move on to the second. So they're really easy to line up. There's no issue there. Just going to clean my work surface though, just because those ink pads are so crazy juicy. So here you can see I'm easily able to line up the second layer of the stencil and again put down the magnets, and now I'm going to come in with the Something Borrowed color. So this would be fun obviously to do in like a traditional rainbow. You could probably use like a mini ink blender or like a finger pouncer and really alternate the colors in a traditional rainbow, but I kind of wanted to switch it up and make it look a little bit different for this design. So again, I'm going to come in with a third layer after I clean up my workstation and add the little hearts with the Coral Cabana color. Again, you can use a full-size brush or a mini one, doesn't really matter here, but every other part of the rainbow is masked off because this layer is just the openings for the heart. And you can see in that one in the middle, that's the mistake. The ink pad was really juicy and I kind of came at it heavy-handed and got ink underneath. Now I have these gorgeous stitched rectangle dies. These are A2 size rectangle dies from LDRS, which is another small woman-owned business in Michigan. And I did run that through off-screen to my die cutting machine, and it put this really cool stitched edge on it and brought it down a little bit smaller in size from an A2 size card base. Now I have these stitched oval scallop edge dies, and I'm going to use that to cut out kind of a double layer of the vellum. I did end up folding it over and die cutting it just so I'd have two layers of the vellum to kind of offset the busy background, because I really wanted to make sure that the sentiment would show and kind of pop off the design. So I run that through my die cutting machine. I'm just going to hold it in place with cement tape. I'm not right on the fold, so it is going to be two separate pieces as you can see here, but I am going to do some heat embossing. So I have my Versamark, which is a sticky clear embossing ink. I have my gilded gold embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and I have this sticky mat that I got from scrapbook.com, which is really handy to hold this little die cut in place so it doesn't shift around on me. So I'm just going to take this stamp set on its maiden voyage and open it up and line it up right in the center of that die cut oval. And I decided to do the I love you Oodles. I was so excited when she added that, because that's oftentimes what I'll write on the inside of a card. So I was really excited when Mary Kay at A Colorful Life Designs actually turned it into a stamp. So there you could see I was using my embossing tool that allows you to basically keep the embossing powder only where you stamp and not everywhere else, which is really important, especially with using vellum and things like that. So you'll want to use some sort of anti-static powder tool, and that one is from the Rabbit Hole Designs. So now I'm just going to coat it with this gold embossing powder, kind of pick it up with these tweezers when I get them back from my daughter, who is using them on the other side of the craft desk, and then just kind of flick the vellum to get any excess off. I'm just going to pour this back in the tub, and then I will get my embossing heat gun very hot before I bring it to the vellum. Now, I wasn't thinking, vellum is a little bit difficult. It's not quite as durable as cardstock, so make sure it's piping hot and maybe kind of come and go from direct contact. Now, it did fine on this until I actually brought it to the bottom, and then it made it bubble up all crazy. I don't know if you could see that. And then I had to kind of smooth it out again by coming on the top. So I don't know what it was about going from the backside on vellum, but I wouldn't recommend it. And use the heat as minimally as possible. So make sure it's nice and hot and kind of keep moving all over it. It's not going to necessarily melt it like it would like a embossable acetate sheet or something like that, but you do still want to keep it moving. Now here I'm making little tiny glue dots, as small as I can make, right behind the embossed letters so that I can attach the second layer of vellum to it so that it'll be twice as thick. There was a little bit of oozage outside the top of the O on the Oodles, but thankfully you can't really see it. Now I do want to pop it up from the background even more, so I'm taking these already super thin foam strips and cutting them in half, and removing the backer and just putting them in a couple spots right behind the embossed letters, so that way I can kind of add some dimension between this vellum and the background so it'll pop up a little bit. So this is definitely fiddly, but I am pleased with how it ended up turning out. So again, just slicing the tiniest little slivers, and removing the foam tape or the backer on both sides so that I can really kind of mold it to fit the letters. And I was pleased that you can't see this when all is said and done. You can't see it from the front of the vellum. So now I'm going to place this down where I want it, kind of in top center on this die cut panel, and then I will attach it with some tape runner to a card base. And again, this is Nina Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound, both for the panel as well as the card base. And the card base is A2 size, so that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I'm going to bust out my Barely Art liquid glue one more time and lay down some glue dots in odd numbers, 3 in the bottom, 2 on the top. And I'm going to use these pretty sparkly glittery gold sequins. I have them in 3 different sizes, and I feel like it goes really well with the gold embossing. So this one I'm going to kind of nestle underneath that vellum so it kind of shows that it's of a different dimension, which is kind of a cool feature. So that's going to finish my card. Really simple in design, so fun with this new layered stencil. There's tons of new stencils in the shop, and they're awesome. You don't want to miss them, so be sure to check that out. I do have a coupon, AmyFan10. You can use that at checkout and save on your complete order of full priced items. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.